Hello, everybody. Welcome along to the Sky Sports MMA Club. Good to see you as always. My name is Nik Hobbs, and if you're watching on YouTube for the next 15 minutes or so, my eyes are going to be down here because this is where our very, very special guest is joining us. He is the artist formerly known as MVP, but forever to be called the captain, Mr. Michael Venom Page. Mike, how are we doing, man?
I'm good. I'm good. Can't complain. Life is good right now, so I'm still on the high. On the high from the trip.
When did you come up with the idea of the Captain Phillips reference?
I'm trying to think when. Again, always like me and my family just go back and forth. It's probably about 2 months before, a month before, thereabouts. We were kind of laughing and joking about a few things. I kind of came up with that. They liked it, and then I got my brother-in-law, Chris Cooper, to make a track. So I did that in the track as well. So yeah, no, it all came together well.
You know that guy dies at the end of the movie, right?
Yes, I know, I know. I'm reborn.
You're so good at those like end of fight call outs and moments. You do such a great job of like capturing them. Is there any a time where you forget to do something and you're going home and you're kicking yourself like, oh man, that would have been perfect?
No, no. To be fair, I've never forgotten. I always have something in the locker, but sometimes I choose not to do it, depending on how I've won. There's been time where I've had a couple of things, but if I didn't get like, I want to get like a knockout. A lot of times, if I don't get a knockout, I probably won't do my celebration.
Yeah.
And it's happened a few times. And if I've won, so I'll decide whether I want to do it or not. So if I won but I haven't got the knockout, I'll decide, if I'm gonna continue doing it. But I've always got something, up my sleeve.
So have you got like a couple of celebrations we haven't seen before that have just been forgotten about in time that maybe we rehash in the future?
Yeah, we've got a few, but a lot of times it's based around the person I'm fighting. So
Yeah.
if it's a missed opportunity, that's usually it. It's just that it was for that time, perfect for that person, for that
Yeah.
opponent. And then if it doesn't, if it doesn't happen, it's because it wasn't meant to be.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Look, you're over a year now into the UFC period of your career. I wonder how you assess how it's gone so far. What has kind of maybe been different about being in the UFC than you expected? What's been the same? How do you look back on it?
In terms of what's different, what's the same, everything is exactly the same. The people are different, the arenas tend to be different in terms of the magnitude, the amount of people that's there, like even press conferences. Like I did my first open workout. I've never done that before. So there are a few differences there, but for the most part, everything's the same. It's just that it's so much more, it's so much bigger, there's so much more limelight on it, there's so much more pressure
Mm.
in it. And to be fair, I felt like initially I was like, yeah, no, I'm chill. I'll handle it well. And I feel like I did. And then I've realized, especially after this last performance, that it's definitely it's very difficult to be the same me under the UFC lights. It's very,
Mm.
very difficult. So it's something that I've get the more and more I settle, and I do feel like I'm going in the right direction, but the more and more I settle, the better and better my performances will come.
Could you expand on that a little bit? I think I know kind of what you're getting at, but in terms of trying to feel confident, comfortable being your authentic self. What aren't we seeing at the moment that you want to be showing more of, perhaps?
For example, I would say I would take a lot more risks in a Bellator fight, shall I
Mm.
say. So when I was fighting before, I felt a lot more free to be myself. Like I'd be a bit crazier, a bit more flamboyant,
Mm.
which is obviously has for me a positive effect, but a negative effect on my opponents. And then you get more. I feel like I can open them up more and I can land bigger and heavier strikes and more devastating strikes. Whereas in UFC, I felt like I've been a bit too tentative and I don't know if I'm just worried about the result. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but it's
Mm.
definitely to do with comfortability, but also the magnitude of making a mistake in the UFC.
Yeah.
For me, it's not necessarily the opponents. I think the fight's the same. It's always going to be the same. It's an MMA fight, regardless. It's just you almost that want to impress is there. you know, like you just got a new girl, you just got a new girlfriend. You're trying a bit too hard to make an impression, and you're not acting like yourself because of it. I feel like that's where I'm at the moment. And the second you get a bit more relaxed and comfortable and realize it's not, I don't need to do that. Then I feel like more you're gonna see a lot more just of the old MVP.
Well, look, we're 9 days removed from your win over Sharabullet. Do you not think that was a good representation, a good expression of who you are as a fighter and what you can do? Because looking from the outside, it was a top performance and it seems to have really made an impact.
Yeah, you know what? Yes, definitely. I think it's also because, Shara was such a, highly sought after in terms of his fights. Everyone wants to see his fight. Everyone excited about his fighting, and he was the up and comer. So I feel like people gave me that respect because of how I dealt with him. There's just so like I could have done so much more, not just to him, but just in my time in the UFC so far. I and it's crazy to think. I'm sure for a lot of people to that I'm saying that I did a performance like that, and it's not me. It's still not the me that I know is there. If I when I get to that point where I can express myself to the max of who MVP is in the cage, in the UFC cage, is when you're going to start to see real highlights come from me, and that's what I'm kind of striving for. At the moment, it's good performances. I am happy with them. I know I can do better. There's quite a few mistakes that I needed to kind of adjust on. That's what me and my coach will go back over. But in general, obviously, I got the result. It was a good fight, clean. I came out looking fresh, no damage. Like I can jump back in the cage quite soon. That's the plan. So yeah, great performance, but I just know there's more.
So, what are you going to do personally to make sure you get to that level of expressing yourself the way you want to? What can you do yourself?
I think a bit more, maybe a bit more visualization. Uh, Actually putting myself in that UFC cage regularly, mentally, so then I just get accustomed to it. Um, Yeah, and then obviously again, like I said, I just want as many fights as possible. The more and more I'm in that cage, the better and better I believe I'm gonna get, regardless of whatever opponent's in front of me. When I start to realize that, yeah, okay, it's not almost just take the seriousness away from it. The second I'm just like, yeah, I'm chill now. I can just I'm allowed to express myself. That is when there's gonna be problems for a lot of people.
Do you think the UFC get you? Do you think they understand what they got when they signed you up at the end of, what was it, 2023 now? Do you think they understand it?
I don't know. I think obviously the UFC is a big brand. I think some people do, some people don't.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's just been my whole life. That's been my whole career. Some people get me and like it. Some people absolutely hate it. They don't get it. And I think I feel like that's just gonna be my thing that is always surrounds who I am as a brand. You're gonna get some people that absolutely love it, and then some people that absolutely hate it. And I think there's gonna be I think for the overall, most people are going to appreciate somewhat of what the kind of capabilities that I have, but not everyone's going to be on side.
Yeah, okay, I get you. I get you. Look, you're up at middleweight. Do you plan on sticking around or even going back there at some point, even if you come back to welterweight? How do you see that working out?
Well, if I can get a quick turnaround fight, and it's less stressful for me to have to cut drastically, then yeah, I can see myself doing another middleweight fight. But if I have the time to to take the weight off without putting too much stress on myself, then yeah, I want to get back to welterweight. I want to get back to that competition, that pool of exceptional fighters, and just trying to just keep climbing that ladder.
With that in mind, with the idea that the door is open to a middleweight return at some point, how come you didn't get a ranking? You beat the number 13 guy. You didn't get a ranking.
Oh, in all honesty, I don't know how that works at all. So I genuinely couldn't even comment. I don't know how if it happens. I don't know if it doesn't happen straight away. It happens straight away. I haven't a clue. I don't even know.
It should if it was going to happen off the back of that fight, it would have happened because Shara dropped out. He's no longer ranked. Bo Nickel and Roman Kopylov moved in to the rankings, but no sign of Michael Page. You've got to go back over to welterweight to find you with a ranking.
I haven't a clue. I haven't a clue. I have to ask a few questions to find out. I literally can't even comment.
Do you care?
No, that for me that doesn't. That's not the for me. My performance is the most important thing.
Yeah.
And until I'm 100% happy with my performance, that's the only thing that matters because I just know everything else will come. Everyone else, when they see that, if the people get to see the glimpses that they, a lot of my teammates get to see in the gym, that is when people are going to go crazy.
So what's next? You want to get out soon. It's February the 10th. What part of the year do you think we see you back in there?
I'm gonna push for April, because I believe there's a show in Miami again. Obviously, I got my family over there. I would love to try and get back in that soon. In all honesty, I'm fresh now. I could probably do. I would have been able to jump on the London card if there was space. If there's a space, an opponent or a last minute pull out, I'm happy to jump in. But yeah, I think it's more realistic. That's going to be like April.
Do you envisage them coming to you and saying, look, we've got a welterweight fight at the top of this card. Can you just be ready in case anything pulls out?
If they did, again, I'm going to have to push myself in terms of the weight cut. But yeah, if they do it and I sit down with my coaches and he's happy for me to run it, then yeah, we'll definitely go.
But you've got a bit of leverage now with the middleweight performance you put on to say, look, if there is a late pull out, I'll be ready at 185. Bring Jack, bring Leon, whoever it may be. Would you consider that?
Oh, 100% yes. Yeah. If they're happy to be flexible with the weight, 100% yes. I'll put my hand up for that straight away.
Because we need the homecoming, right? It's been a minute.
I know. I've spoken to a few people about it. It's like it just doesn't seem to be timed right at the moment, but it will happen. There's no way in hell that I'll have this UFC stint and not fighting on home turf.
How many fights have you got left on the UFC deal?
I believe 3 fights. Yeah, I believe 3 fights.
3 fights. Okay. So with those 3 fights, what do you want to achieve?
I want to be title contention. So I'm either going for a title because somebody's dropped off or whatever, or I'm right there. I'm on the next in line. That is the most important thing for me.
And how are we going to do that? What's the route? If you got an idea, you want to be out in April, who would make sense for you, do you think?
In all honesty, like I literally just got back to the gym today and I was sitting down with my coaches and we both said it's a difficult one. Obviously now having the ability to do middleweight as well. It's we get to look at a few more people, but we've got to sit down over this week, I'd say, and try to come up with something in mind and then just throw a few names at the wall and see what happens.
Because if you were to hang around middleweight for another one, if we start looking in the rankings, number 13, Michel Pereira, that's a fun one. Down at welterweight, number 13, Carlos Praetus. I mean, 2 really fun fights stylistically. We're having a good time there, aren't we?
Yeah, man, it's great. Like, that's what I'm trying to say. There's so many great fights to be had, and I'm just up for all of them. As long as it gets me going in the right direction, I'm just happy to just keep putting on shows.
I know there's no such thing as an easy route to become a UFC champion. Of course there isn't, but is part of you looking at actually stylistically welterweight looks better or middleweight looks better? Do you have an opinion on that or?
Not really. I think more people look like a weight that around me have more opinions than everyone's saying. Like, the middleweight division is more, more full of strikers than the welterweight division. I personally just want to do it at the welterweight division. I don't know if it's because it's just I've been in that division for so long. I want to claim something from it. I want to take something back from that division and kind of the time I've put in. If it's to be, it's to be. But I definitely, that's my focus is welterweight division. Everything else is just an exciting fight. If I can have an exciting fight, I'll do it. But the focus is the welterweight division.
Because that can be a really interesting, profitable, exciting way to take a career fight, is down that exciting, fun, fan-friendly fights. I know you mentioned going up to 205 and fighting Yuri. I mean, those are dream fights for fans, right?
That's what I mean. Like, for me, an exciting fight is no weight division. I don't care. It's just an exciting fight. It's an exciting fight. If it's going to
Yeah.
be a good fight stylistically and it makes sense, then let's make it happen. But in terms of progression and in terms of my goal, it is definitely the welterweight division.
Again, one of the problems you're going to have, Mike, going forward if you are jumping between divisions is you have to give an opinion on those divisions every time you get an interview and the champions and who's in championship fights. So now you're a middleweight. Did you watch the fight over the weekend? Du Plessis and Strickland going at it again?
I've watched every single fight apart from that one, and I've done that for a reason because I like to do reaction videos on YouTube.
Okay.
And I wanted to actually have an honest reaction to that to that fight. So I'm gonna be doing that this evening. So I've like I said, I've watched all the other fights, so some great fights on that card. But yeah, I haven't watched the actual. I know the result, but I haven't actually watched the actual fight yet.
Are you surprised by the result?
No, not really. Not really, not really. Again, for me, it was like it's in terms of their first fight, it was a 50-50. Like it could go either way. And like I said, and I put my money on Du Plessis because I said I literally had an interview about this and I was saying for some I don't like his style. Like for some reason I don't get how achieved so much. I just find it a messy style. He's definitely technical, but it seems messy. It seems almost like I think it's just because he's quite robotic. But he just one thing he does seem to know is he just seems to know how to drag out a win. He just seems to know he seems to do just enough every single time. So this is why I put it in his corner, yeah.
Obviously, you haven't done the tape study yet on the Strickland fight, but they're talking about Hamzat Chimaev next for Du Plessis. What do you make of that fight? How do you see it going?
Well, it's again, it's difficult. I'd say Chimaev. I've had the pleasure of being in the gym watching him do his thing. And he's an absolute beast. The the difficult thing is if he doesn't, and the positive thing is, sorry, if I his last performance showed otherwise, but he normally has this crash bandicoot of a first round, and then you see him die in terms of his fitness. Whereas his last fight, although it did finish early, he looked way more composed than I've ever seen him before. He looked a bit more, even when he went for the takedown, it just seemed a lot more settled, a lot more less crazy. If he can do that, because Duplessis is going to be hard to kill,
Yeah.
which means you may go 5 rounds. Which means you need to have that cardio to do it. But at the same time, if anybody can beat Duplessis early, it will be Chimaev.
Interesting, interesting. You said you watched all the other fights of the weekend. Did you see what your old mate Del Boy got up to?
Oh yeah, I was up for that. That's
Yeah.
my brother, man. I was screaming at I was screaming. I was so happy for him, so proud of him. I get to see him daily putting in like the work needed, especially for that fight. I was very surprised that while in his cardio for one, and also his chin. Like he took a couple shots, and I know Derek can hit hard. He took a couple shots across the chin and was still there. He got knocked across across the ring, and got back up and still seemed to. The only thing is he wasn't pressing forward because Derek's game plan was perfect. How he was stance changing and cornering him off, so it didn't allow him to kind of box well. He kind of smothered his work. So again, game plan was perfect from Derek. But I was just surprised that he was still there round 12. And you could tell he's an exceptional boxer. Just Derek just had everything on point.
I'm going to throw two questions in one at you just to round things up here, Mike. If you had been there at Manchester, presumably you'd have been in the ring at the end with the cards. You'd have been a part of that entourage, wouldn't you? The second part of that question is, do you want to see him fight any of those three guys? If anyone didn't see it, he had cards of Daniel Dubois, Alexander Usyk, Anthony Joshua. Would you want to see him fight one of those three?
I guess if this is gonna be your final fight, you might as well go big or go home. So I'm gonna be happy when he decides to say call it a day because that's my friend out there. I only want the best for him. And he as in his name, he likes to go to war, and that doesn't do well for longevity. So, but yeah, I'm gonna be happy once I think he's had an amazing legacy. He's had some of the greatest fights in the UK. But yes, why not? If you're for 50, you might as well go big. And he did exceptionally well against Usyk, exceptionally well. I think it'd probably be a better fight against Dubois. Be very dangerous. Dubois got power in both hands. But we know him really well. I think they're friends. It's a bit it makes it a bit too less of a story, a bit too friendly. I think there'll be a bit more war coming from Dubois, and Usyk. Again, it'll just be a bit more of a technical fight and not as exciting. I think where you'll probably get the big knockout from a Dubois fight. So I'd like to see that one.
All right, Mike, we'll leave it there. Captain, I salute you. Enjoy yourself, man. Take care. Let's do this again soon, all right?
Good to see you again, man.